failed. Vladimir Zelensky won the presidency in 1970, a comedian and actor who ran for president with no political experience and won 70% of the vote because he promised to sign the Minsk Accords. And what happened, neocons in the Biden White House told him that he could not sign it. They wanted that war with Russia. And we now know, as we recently have learned, that in March of 2022, the Israelis and the Turks negotiated another agreement that did the same thing, and that Zelensky signed the agreement, the initial. The Russians signed it, and they were leaving the Ukraine. They were pulling their troops out. President Biden sent Boris Johnson over there to force Zelensky to tie up that agreement, to tear up that agreement. And since then, we now know we've killed 500,000 Ukrainian kids. My son went over and fought in the Ukraine, on the side of the Ukrainians. And most of the people that he fought for are now dead. 500,000 mothers who've lost their kids for no reason. Oh, we've committed $113 billion to that war. And we did that in March of this year. Let me tell you something else that happened in March. I have a friend, I've represented commercial fishermen all my career. I started out on the Hudson, cleaning up the Hudson, suing polluters, to protect the fishing industry. And I've represented commercial fishermen for 40 years. One of my close friends is a commercial fisherman in Keith Amato, who's from the Cape, fished out of Wellfleet, Chatham, and Provincetown. And he worked hard all his life. He's now on disability. His son runs the business, but he has no pension. He depends on food stamps. He was getting $283 a month in food stamps. But that money had the value of those food stamps, because of the inflation of paying for the wars, the value of those food stamps have dropped 38% in 2 years. But the real value has dropped even more because the cost of basic food stuff, like chicken, dairy, and eggs, has increased by 76% during that period. So his food stamps were 76% less. And even before March, he was telling me that he was having to buy cheaper ingredients in order to get through the grocery store line. Well, on March 1st, he got a robocall from the government saying, your food stamps are now being cut to $23 a month. 90% cut. 30 million Americans got that call. 15 million Americans were told that month that they were being cut from Medicare. That same month, the Fed printed $300 billion extra dollars unanticipated to pay for the Silicon Valley Bank collapse. And President Biden tipped off the Ukraine contributions by $113 billion. So we have plenty of, if we kept that $113 billion here, we wouldn't have to cut one food stamp for Americans, and we wouldn't have had to cut anybody from Medicare. So we made a choice. And the difficulty for me is we always seem to have plenty of money for the bank bailouts and the military-industrial complex. But for poor Americans, for working-class Americans, for people in need in this country who have worked their whole lives, we don't have that money. And now, when Mitch McConnell, and by the way, President Biden this week is asking Congress for an additional $24 billion for Ukraine, but he's tying it to the Hawaii aid package. So he's holding Hawaiian aid hostage for another $24 billion for Ukraine. Now, when Mitch McConnell was asked, why are we sending all this money over to Ukraine? and we have poor people who are suffering in this country as a crisis here. He said, well, the money's not actually going to Ukraine. It's really going to U.S. military contractors like Raytheon, General Dynamics, Boeing, and Lockheed, who are making all the weapons that we're selling to Ukraine. So it's really just a money laundering scheme with U.S. military contractors. Well, who do you think owns every single one of those military contractors? 3 companies: BlackRock, State Street, and Vanguard. So this is how they're stripping our money. I'm going to tell you one other story because I was in Iowa this week, and one of the big issues in Iowa is there's 3 pipelines that are now being built in Iowa, $3,300 miles. These pipelines are not oil or gas pipelines. They're carbon capture pipelines. Now, I've been an environmentalist my whole life, and a lot of you probably don't believe that climate change is not fine. I believe it. I think it's existential. But I also believe that carbon capture is a hoax. It's a boondoggle. It's a way of fooling the public into making us think the government is doing something, but it's really just shifting wealth to the super rich, and it has no benefit for reducing the amount of carbon. Well, these 3 pipelines, they are using eminent domain. These are owned by 3 companies. They're using eminent domain to condemn the land of the farmers, the best farmland in America, the most productive farmland in the world. And they're condemning that land to build these 3 pipelines that are going to pick up a very pure form of CO2 created by ethanol plants. And they're going to bring it up to, they say they're going to do deep well injection and bury that carbon forever. But I've seen these projects before, and number 1, they don't work. Number 2, they don't work on either end. The last one they made, where Archie Daniel Midland only captured 3% of the carbon from that company. And what do they do? And North Dakota has already told them, you can't do deep well injection in our state. But they're going forward anyway. And you know why? Is what they're really going to use that carbon for. They're going to inject it into the exhausted wells, oil wells, at the Bakken crude fields, and make those oil wells last another 10 or 20 years. So it is the opposite of reducing carbon. They're actually going to create more carbon. But the value to these 3 companies over a 10-year period through tax credits, which are direct payments from you and me, is $173 billion that those 3 companies have, more than the Ukraine war. $173 billion. You know who the biggest of those 3 companies are? BlackRock. So, 80% of the people in Iowa oppose that pipe. 46 counties through which that pipe runs have sent protests to the Senate. But the individuals who are making the decision to allow that pipeline to condemn the land and go ahead have received $1.6 million in campaign contributions from the 3 companies that are building those pipes. And all the people who are making those decisions are people who say they do not believe in human-induced climate change. So it's clear it's just a hoax. It is a transfer it is a way of stripping our wealth from the American public and our equity and shifting it to the richest billionaires on the planet. And that's what we see all around us. And I've spent my lifetime fighting large corporations, fighting these kind of fixed deals, fighting corporate capture. And when I get in the White House, I'm going to unravel this. I'm going to kill this project because I can use FERC to kill it. I'm going to unravel the empire abroad, Those, a lot of those 800 bases, I'm going to bring that money back here. The $1 billion stealth bombers that can't fly in the rain. With one of those bombers, we can build 1,000 schools in this country. We can paint the inside of the schools. We can buy computers for the children. We can pay for their education. And that's what I'm going to do as president. And let me just tell you one last thing I'm going to do. I'm going to create a housing boom in this country. I'm doing two things. One is I'm going to use the IRS to make it impossible for large corporations to buy up our single-family homes. Number two, I'm going to create a new 3% mortgage. And the way I'm going to do that, without creating any more debt in our country, I'm going to sell 3% mortgage bonds to the financing of those bonds. The private investor is tax-free. So they'll get a 3.8 rate. It will be beneficial for them because they're paying 3% and it's tax-free. It will finance Americans who want to buy a single-family home. It will only be available to Americans, and will start out making them available only to teachers in this country. That's the teachers we have. And then the way that we do that is, imagine if you wanted to get a mortgage, and you're a young kid, you can't afford it, and because you're under the credit rating, they give you a high rate. But what if you had a rich uncle who will co-sign that mortgage for you? And then you can get a very low rate because he's very rich. And your credit rating doesn't matter, so it becomes available for you. Well, I'm going to make Uncle Sam all of your rich uncles. So that Uncle Sam will guarantee that 3% mortgage. And instead of paying 7% of mortgage, you'll pay 3%. It will take $1,000 off your monthly mortgage fees. And it will make you competitive with BlackRock, Vanguard, State Street, and the Chinese. Because this is only going to be available for American citizens who need a home, who are trying to buy a single-family home. And we can do that, as I said, without driving up the debt. We should have done this years and years ago, but as soon as I get into office, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to create a housing boom for this country. The same way that we created a housing boom in 1945, when the troops came home, and the GI Bill and these other government incentives made it easy for them to buy homes. And that was the beginning of that 50 years of great prosperity. And it's the beginning of a new era of prosperity in this country for the arrest of decline that we're seeing all over this country. So that's one of the many plans that I have. You can go to the website for me to rest, and I'm very, very grateful to you for your support, for coming out here and sitting patiently. I apologize for all the problems that we have. I really enjoy meeting you, and I'm grateful to all of you, and I'm happy to answer a few questions.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kennedy. And I would ask, if you have a question, I would ask that you line up right here, and we'll take one at a time. But if you have a question, please come forward. We'll get through as many as we can. Right now, I think we have about 25 minutes, so Mr. Kennedy, I think that's right. We have about 25 minutes for questions. In the meantime, the website is Kennedy24.com, or for South Carolina, KennedySC.org. I would like to go there. Today, when you leave, make sure you take a sign. If you want to make a contribution to the campaign, we're welcome to do that too. We'd love to have you participate at any level that works for you. We are so grateful to each and every one of you for being here. Now, without further ado, Mr. Kennedy, maybe go to the first question. Okay. Please go ahead.
My name is Alton, President Kennedy. Very good work. We all have 8 bucks, great work. I'm wondering, in your administration, will you reorganize EPA and FDA away from the pharmaceutical industry? Will you stop Roundup from being put on our crops? And will you get a choice for women, birth or no birth?
Thank you very much. Thank you for the question, Mr. Kennedy.
Yeah, I do. In answer to your last question, I think every abortion is a tragedy, but I think we need to trust them. And I've been fighting for medical freedom and bodily autonomy for all of my life. I've been probably the lead fighter on those issues, and I think that applies to all things. I don't think the government has the competence to interfere in our own medical decisions about what happens to our bodies. But I also understand both sides of the abortion argument. I've seen pictures of late-term abortions that are horrifying, and my family has stood on the issue. And I don't think anybody would be disrespected for their views on this issue. It's a difficult issue, and it's difficult for all of us. But I believe ultimately the only good choice, or the only choice we have, is to trust them. On the issue of, I've sued all of these agencies, EPA, NIH, CDC, FDA, the USDA, the DOT, all of them, and all of them are experiencing agency capture. So all of them are essentially become sock puppets of the industry we're supposed to regulate. Because when you sue an agency like this, you get a PhD in how they work and the corruption. And you're right to bring up Monsanto. When we sued Monsanto, I was one of the trials of the 3 trials. And then, we settled the suits for $13 billion with 40,000, or now about 50,000 plaintiffs. People who got non-Hodgkin's lymphoma from using Roundup. One of a group of discovery documents that we got during those trials were correspondence between the head of the pesticide division at EPA and the top executives of Monsanto. That man's name was Jess Rowland, and he was the head of the pesticide division. What we didn't know, what the public didn't know, was that for at least a decade, he had been privately working for Monsanto, although he was collecting a paycheck from us. And this, unfortunately, is the rule at all of these agencies. There are people who are critically placed in those agencies. I can tell you who they are in many of these agencies. I can tell you exactly who they are at CDC, at NIH, at FDA. People who are supposed to be working for us, but they're secretly working for pharma. I can tell you who they are at USDA. USDA is an agency that was started to help the small farmer in this country and to produce and to encourage the production of wholesome food. Their actual function is to do the opposite, is to destroy the small farmer, to reward the big packing industry, the consolidation of the retail industry, the consolidation of the seed industry. 95% of our seeds are owned by one company, Monsanto. And so I'm going to unravel that. I'm going to make these agencies do what they're supposed to do. I'm going to go to NIH on week 1. And NIH has a $42 billion budget. It has 56,000 scientists, researchers with funding. And I'm going to say to them, we're going to give infectious disease a little break for about a decade.
Thank God. Amen.
We're going to start studying chronic disease. We're going to start asking the question, why are our kids the sickest kids in the world?
Yep.
Where did the autism epidemic come from? It went from 10,000 in my generation to 31 in every 34 kids today. Where did food allergies suddenly appear from?
Yep.
Where did all these autoimmune, where did eczema suddenly appear? We're getting all these autoimmune diseases, juvenile diabetes, rheumatoid arthritis, Crohn's disease, lupus. Why did they all suddenly appear in 1989? Why is that the change here? What happened that year?
So what they're doing with our food.
We know that these epidemics are not, we went from having 6% of our kids having chronic disease to about 60%.
McDonald's,
And no other nation has it.
some fries.
One of the reasons we did so badly in COVID, we have only 4.2% of the population, but we had 16% of the COVID deaths globally. One of the reasons for that is we have the highest chronic disease burden of any country in the world.
Yep.
We have, and CDC said the average American who died from COVID had 3.8 chronic diseases.
Yep.
So they had obesity, they had diabetes, they had asthma, and other diseases. Why do we have them in this country and other countries don't? And we need to, and why is an NIH research? Well, we know why. We know there's a limited number of culprits, and there's a very famous doctor called Phil Landrigan, who was at Mount Sinai, one of the most important toxicologists in the world, and I've used him as an expert in a lot of my lawsuits. And he's asked the question, what happened in 1989? And he said, and he's come down to about 11 different culprits. And one of those is glyphosate from Roundup, which goes along that timeline. Another is neonicotinoid pesticides. Another is atrazine. Another is PFOAs and PFASs, these forever chemicals that around that time were putting all of our kids' pajamas, their flame retardants, and they were putting all of our furniture.
Mm-hmm.
Now in our water supply, all over our country, pursuing how to get them out. High fructose corn syrup is another culprit. And the vaccine schedule went from 3 vaccines to 72 vaccines, so that's got to be, and 1989 was a big change here, so that's got to be a potential culprit too. Cell phone radiation is a potential culprit, so there's a number of them, but there's a limited number. Landrigan can only come up with about 11. But why don't we know the answer to that question? It's simple science. And they won't do it because they know that the end of each one of those threads is a big shot that nobody wants to cross. When I get in there, we're going to find out exactly, immediately, what's causing it, and we're going to eliminate those exposures. Today, we spend $1.3 trillion on the military. We were told in 1992, the Soviet Union collapsed. We were told we're going to get a peace dividend. The military expenditures at that point were $660 billion. We were told they were going to go down to $200 billion. That was plenty to protect our country. Instead, they've gone to $1.3 trillion annually.
Jesus.
But the biggest expense is chronic disease. We spend $4.3 trillion annually on healthcare in this country, 3 or 4 times per capita what any European country spends, and our healthcare outcomes are worse than anyone's.
He's been suing them for decades.
We have worse health outcomes than Mongolia and Cuba and Costa Rica. So why is that? It's chronic disease. We have more chronic disease than anybody. 80% of our healthcare costs are going to chronic disease. When my uncle was president, only 6% of Americans had chronic disease. And the percentage that we spend on healthcare of GDP was 1/20 we're spending today, and we are much healthier. What my aim is to get that percentage back to 6%. And everybody, the Democrats and Republicans argue about how do we pay for our healthcare system. Should it be Obamacare? Should it be Medicare for all? Should it be a public option? Should it be the HMO system? How do you pay for it? But all of those, and they tear each other apart, figuring out who's going to pay. But all of those options are just putting the page up, sending the bill. Who do you send the bill to? It's like shifting deck chairs around on the Titanic. The real issue is, how do we actually reduce those healthcare costs. The only way to do that, the obvious
Let's
way,
get people healthy.
is to reduce the amount of chronic disease that our children have.
Amen.
And that's what I'm going to do, Mr. President. If any of you, I'm sure, let's raise your hand if you have somebody in your family who is affected by chronic disease. And you see that. If at least 50 or 60% of the people in this room, we need to end this. When you are affected by it, if you have families that are affected, their careers are injured, their relationships are injured, their careers are derailed, their earning potential is taken, their whole focus.
And it makes everybody reliant on the system.
Keeping that child alive.
That's it.
And we need to take that burden away from the American people. And we need to figure out what is causing it, and we need to eliminate those exposures.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Next question, please.
Carlton Waller with Indian Faith Ministries. This is a South Carolina person, North Carolina person. The Lumbee tribe, Mr. Donald promised to have the Lumbee tribe, the largest tribe east of the Mississippi, gain federal recognition. For years we have state benefits, but we are finding that the state benefits are not enough. So a lot of Lumbee Native American families, as well as South Carolina tribe, are migrating to other states just to do what they need to do to provide for them. So the question is, would you be in support of looking at tribes that deserve federal recognition that would help them? And there's casinos we can build by tribes in North Carolina. The casinos would also boost the economy.
I spent for about 20 years, I spent 20% of my time, my professional time, representing the tribes in Canada, in the United States, and Latin America. And my uncle was involved in getting the tribes recertified, and I will fight very, very hard to make sure that those tribes, the tribes that are real tribes, that lost their certification, and we're trying to destroy all the tribes, that we get them that certification now.
Thank you, Mr. Kennedy. Next question, please.
The other day, Marion County Democratic Party, we can have a political prayer. Me, along with thousands of other single veterans, would love to know why they take veteran negotiations so many years just to hear from the veterans appeal. I know, and we know, veterans have waited almost 10 years to have these appeals heard. Why the process taking so long?
I had hearing problems.
Okay, let's start again.
And that's you.
All of the veterans would love to know why does it take them veteran negotiations so many years to hear a disabled veteran appeal? Why the process taking so long?
Veterans appeal process, which of course is in there. Go ahead, Mr. Kennedy.
You mean, why does the federal appeal process take so long? Yeah, I wish I knew that too, because I'm waiting for so many appeals right now. I have, and also, depending on the circuit, they have different rules, and they have different priorities, and some of the circuits don't discipline the judges at all. I'm waiting on appeals that, I'm waiting on an appeal on my Facebook case. It's almost
Excuse me, Mr. Kennedy, I think it's a veteran, and he's talking about what you just said, but also about the fact that the Veterans Administration, right? That the Veterans Administration is so slow in addressing the cases that veterans present. Is that it? Okay.
That is inexcusable, just because they don't have the judges. And I will appoint the judges and make sure that veterans get a hasty adjudication. We're behind on all our judges. I mean, one of the reasons that we have this big problem at the border is because we don't have any asylum judges. So it takes 7 years to get a case in front of asylum, and the people who are petitioning for asylum at the border are letting into the country, and they're given a court date 7 years.
My brother-in-law has the same issue. He's from Guatemala.
And that's an excuse for it. The APs, I'm going to fill those posts, and I'm going to fill the posts of the Veterans Administration to make sure that our veterans would sacrifice for our country, get a hasty adjudication, and get what they're entitled to.
Amen.
Thank you, Thank you.
How you doing, Mr. Kennedy? We appreciate you coming down from Sacramento. Appreciate you taking time to come and share your view with us. I have a question that I want to ask you. It's just been certainly. And I heard you talk about one-time president, Biden, one-time president. My question is, do you feel that President Biden won the election fair and honest? Do you feel that former President Trump won this election? I want to know if you really lost the election.
Oh.
You know what? I am not going to get into that.
That's it. Rise above.
What I'm trying to do in this campaign is to focus on issues on the values that Americans have in common, on the issues that divide us.
Amen.
Any opinion I have about that is an opinion that is not based on any special knowledge, and I don't think I can be helpful in helping people really understand what happened. What I've said is that instead of focusing on what happened, let's make sure that the next election that we have, that every American has faith in.
Yes.
We need to have a voting system. The city of Las Vegas was built almost entirely on our capacity, American ingenuity, to build machines that count correctly. And there was an ATM on every corner in this country, in our major cities, that never give you too much money. So we know
Right.
we can build a machine that works. There's problems right now with machines, with AI particularly, with whether or not machines can be hacked. And as long as that's any issue, I think that we really need to have paper ballots. And we need to,
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Yes, question.
All the documents and they filled out their forms. What's happening in our southern border is not immigration, it's invasion. How do we plan to protect our southern border?
yeah, I think you're right. The question was about the southern border. And I went down there and I spent 3 days on the border, and it took me 3 days to really understand how crazy it was. And I first wanted to say, it is a humanitarian crisis. It's I come to this.
Thank you,
issue
Kid Nurse, for sharing that.
from a place of compassion. I saw 300 people walk across the border and be processed by the Border Patrol. And I interviewed about half of them. So and I heard horror stories. That people were beaten. They were extorted, they were exploited, some of them were raped, many were robbed. The cartels are now running the border. We watched the cartels bring up bus after bus after bus, 55 people per bus. The whole night I was there, only 2 families were from Latin America or Central America. There was a Peruvian and a Colombian family. All the other ones, the first 110 that came across were from Africa. The second group came mainly from Asia, from Azerbaijan, Kazakhstan, Uzbekistan, Tibet, Nepal, Pakistan, Afghanistan, India, China.
Wow.
And they knew exactly what would happen to them because the cartels advertise on YouTube and TikTok and tell you exactly where to go, what to do, how to get the internal visa in Mexico and Nicaragua, how to get to the Busnet terminal the cartel operates in Mexicali. You get on those buses, the cartels, one at a time, bring 55 people across. They charge them 10 to 15,000 apiece. They rent children because for $80 apiece. They rent children who come because you're treated differently, a little better if you come across a family.
Yep.
And so the children are rented. 85,000 children have disappeared. The people who come across are interviewed. If they don't have a criminal record,
I witnessed it last
they're
week.
brought by the Border Patrol to the airport in Yuma, and they're put on a plane to any destination that they ask in the United States. And if they don't have a ticket, you and I pay for the ticket. They're given a court date 7 years in the future, and they're here for 7 years, and they're here without illegal limbo. So they're not allowed to work technically. So they're preyed upon by unscrupulous employers who pay them $5 or $6 an hour. And that dampens the wages for American workers. And they are crushing the social safety system in our country. In New York, there's 95,000 migrants who have showed up are illegal. They're sleeping on the sidewalks. They cannot work legally. They're now starting, Eric Adams is starting camps for them on Roosevelt Island. Roosevelt Island is where all the sporting fields are for New York City children. These are children who were locked up for COVID for 2 or 3 years and couldn't play sports. And they lost a lot of opportunities. Some of these could have been scholarship kids.
Right.
And now they can't get on their sporting fields because they become migrant colonies, and they're thinking of opening Central Park, a partition called Central Park, to put migrant colonies there. The social safety net for other New Yorkers who are poor is being absolutely devastated. And I work, Cesar Chavez was one of my father's closest allies. And for the last 2 decades of his life, I worked very closely with Cesar Chavez on pesticide issues. He was very concerned about pesticide exposures to Hispanic Chicano farm workers.
Yeah, that's true, Lorianne.
I was very privileged that his family asked me to be his pallbearer, one of his pallbearers, when he was buried in 1993. But one of the 2 issues that Cesar Chavez was working on very, very hard during those last 2 decades was 1, pesticides. Number 2, closing the border. Because he understood that all the illegal migrants coming across the border were dampening the power and the leverage of legal farm workers to demand higher wages. And what I believe that we need wider gates to make sure that people who come across legally have a clear path, an easy path, and a quick path to citizenship, but that we have secure borders so that it's not the mafia, the Mexican mafia running our border. I think there's been 200,000 Mexicans right on the other side who have been killed violently in the past 5 years because of fighting over control of the border. Oh, it's not good. This is not good for anybody. We need, as a nation, we need secure borders. We need to be able to control who comes in and out of this country. And we ought to be a welcoming country to people who come here legally.
Pammy's an attorney. He's not going to give them amnesty. He's going to give them a path.
We have, in the last 3 years, there's 3.1 million people have come to our country legally, who have waited in line, done what they're supposed to do. The same period of time, 7 million people came across illegally. So double. So the cartels are running U.S. immigration policy. How can anybody think that's a good idea? It is a terrible idea. And we need to secure our border. The good news is, we spend 3 days talking to law enforcement, talking to Border Patrol, talking to everybody, hospitals, migrants themselves, everybody. Every single person, mayor of these towns, every single person we agreed to, that we talked to, agreed that this could be shut down overnight. If we had the political will to do it, one of the things
That would
we
be
need to
amazing.
do is to hire sufficient asylum judges so that we can adjudicate asylum claims right here at the border. By the way, of the 300 people that I watched come across, only 2 families had asylum claims. Everybody else was saying, I'm here because I want to make money. So that is not a legal reason to come across.
Right.
If you're being, if your family's being murdered by cartels or by government oppression, you have a legal right to be in this country, but you need to be adjudicated. And as it turns out, 85% of the asylum claims are ruled not to be legitimate. So, we need to make that decision right at the border before people come in the country.
Amen.
I will do that as president.
Will you,
I've been notified that Mr. Kennedy is going to have to leave shortly. And I just, we're having to go. So I think you may want to say goodbye to these great people in Florence for turning out here on Sunday afternoon.
Mr. Kinney, will you finish the wall? Will you finish the wall?
Our question period is over.
Okay.
And we're gonna move on. Did you want to take a group? Can we do this?
Yeah, I would love to take a group picture.
Yeah, we're gonna try to take a group picture. Photographer, I think would be possible on one line.
Everybody, people
You can just stand up and we're gonna have a picture with everyone there. And when you're doing that,
That'll be a cluster.
if you're on the witness protection program, cover your face.
Go ahead. Oh,
So we're all gonna get, staff will help us write up everything we need. Jeff,
why don't you go up there?
oh, that'd be a great shot.
No, this looks like a prop. I know the show business. I think that's a real
we're
bell.
working this out. Okay.
I don't know. There's got to be a way up there, right?
David, you're in charge here. You got the right people.
I was south of Lake Havasu last week and literally saw.
Okay, there's David. It's now 18 cars.
I was flying my drone and
Place for SC. Okay. Okay, now look at David.
Come in.
tighten up,
Tighten up like you're at the prom.
right?
Act like we all like each other. We keep it close.
There you go. Do a panoramic shot. There you go.
All right, everybody, wave for me. Hi, Mom. And smile. 3,
2, 1.
We're all waving. All right, then on the count of 3, say Kennedy.
Oops.
All right, we're gonna try again. Say Kennedy. 1, 2, 3.
Kennedy!
All right, then we'll wave one more time. Just make sure we got everybody in there.
Everybody get that.
Big smiles.
Bill's-
We're happy. Thank you so much.
No, I literally got it on drone. I was flying my drone about 2 miles up, getting the lake, and I saw two white people come in a truck and pass off to a Hispanic guy, and caught it all on the drone. And as soon as they saw me walk around my truck and saw me with the drone, they both sped off in opposite directions. It was crazy. Yeah. Yep. It was insane. And I got it on my YouTube channel, and people are like, what? Yeah, it's crazy. That's my name, David Wilkes, W-I-L-K-S.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank
you.
Wow, that's so random that you said Havasu. I'm like, what the
Yeah,
hell?
it's just one of those crazy things. Do you travel with this campaign all across the United States, or just this detail? There's a mic In the future, there's a mic that you can get called DJI. It's an audio. You can plug it into anything.
Thank you for telling me. I'll check it out.
It's a $200 microphone. You can hook it to a phone. It doesn't need an app. You can plug it into this, and that way it literally mics him up without having any hassle.
That's great. Thanks again.
And it works up to 100 feet away. All right, guys and girls, I'm gonna kill this broadcast. I'm gonna go get some pizza. So much for karaoke with Kennedy. Darn it. I know. Karaoke. I know. Wouldn't that been great? All right, guys, I'm gonna wrap up this live. I'm gonna go pick up some shirts and swag. Anybody wants some swag? Leave me a comment right now. You know what? Y'all say he's on the fence, but I'm telling you right now, that man's a patriot. And you know what? He may have just got my vote.